Next to that.
Copy that.
It's like, okay. I just say, well, I can see, no, I think that's.
Yeah, yeah. Feedback.
Is that? No.
You're.
I'm interested in the name.
People sitting behind the day or maybe considering or doing business.
Yep.
Any idea?
Yeah, it's new home relish. They relish trade and. Yeah, it's a new thing with. Speaking of the whole stuff. Do it before this.
Good, because just they're feeling you have to anything to do with what on the front seat.
Right.
And if nobody, you're not going to raise the.
Right.
It's just getting that.
Actually, it's probably easy with them.
You still find, well, I mean, or something. The pretty responsive time and good. What makes you find that?
I just like the other thing.
Right.
It'll be so long from house. Okay. Yeah, that's going to work. Steve.
Put the date on the back of that for you.
Appreciate that. Do we want an entire package?
I will go print it.
Is that okay?
I will ask for it to be printed.
I just need the names of. Is that all right?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Still not. This meeting has been given public notice in accordance with section 19.83 and 19.84 of the Wisconsin State Statutes in such a form that will apprise the general public and news media of subject matter that is intended for consideration and action. Roll call shows all trustees and committee members present with the exception of trustee Baum. Please be advised that per section 19.84 subsection 2, that information and comment will be received from the public. It is the policy of this municipality that public input be limited to a 3-minute period per person, with a time extension granted at the discretion of the chairperson. Please be advised that there may be limited discussion of the information received, but no action will be taken under public comments. Would anybody like to make a public comment for an item that is not on the agenda this evening? I'll take that as a no. Item number 4 is the approval of the prior Public Safety Committee meeting minutes. Committee? We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Motion has been made and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion passes. Item 5, we'll move on to the monthly reports. We'll go with the police department first. Chief Snow.
Thank you. The monthly report, those numbers are tracking very similar to what they did last year. I did want to update you on our multi-juris process of getting that updated, and today was the go live date, and it, for the most part, we are. The laptops are live on that multi-juris with Washington County, and they're working on the workstations inside the police department now. So once they get them going, that's what we needed to kind of keep this phased-in approach on schedule. So we're very optimistic about that, with that being taken care of. I think the personnel wise, our biggest things going on is we did offer a lateral to a officer from Hartford, city of Hartford. We're doing a background on an officer from the city of or the town of Oconomowoc and city of Greendale. We're anticipating they will accept offers within the next week. And we are still continuing 2 more backgrounds to get us to those 4 lateral hires that we were hoping to accomplish this summer. Our SROs are done with their school years, so we will put 1 back on the road working for a shift. That's going to help us immensely with overtime issues. And the other one will work as assisting the Detective Bureau with special assignments. And those are my updates.
Thank you, Chief Snow. Trustee Pieper, do you have any questions?
Just one quick question for the lateral transfers. What positions are they being hired at?
The first one made an offer, had over 5 years. That would be a top pay situation. The
But they're
2,
just all patrol?
oh, I'm sorry. Yes, they are all patrol, all 3 startup patrol officer. Yes,
All right, so when you say lateral, just meaning you're matching the pay of whatever they're getting?
correct.
Gotcha. Okay.
And then Chief Snow, that gets us to full, but then we have the additional 4 that we have to fill then also, correct?
The additional 4 for next year.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
For the referendum, anticipating 1 retirement this year for sure. So we have not addressed that issue yet, but certainly a lot further along.
Thank you, Chief Snow. Chief Delane.
Thank you.
On May 10th, we did take delivery of our new tender. That vehicle has been put into service and everybody has trained on that vehicle. Also, some of you may have heard, last week we responded to a chemical spill in one of our businesses. That business was shut down for about a week. As of today, that business was allowed to reopen. They had a bunch of other miscellaneous problems inside that building, wiring, items like that. But they were allowed to reopen today with everything remedied. I'd also like to point your attention to the monthly report, page 29. And you will notice that our automatic aid has gone down from Menominee Falls, or excuse me, for us going to Menominee Falls. They have canceled that program with us. And as we make the switch over, we will not be having them come here as often, especially with the passage of the referendum next year. We won't be needing them as much. So it kind of makes everything back to how it should be again. In addition to that, Battalion Chief Holmes has been working on a program with Medicare and Medicaid to try and get some payments reimbursed back to us. And if you got like 10 seconds, I'd like to have him give a brief synopsis of it.
Is that a strict 10 seconds or
Nah.
leniency?
Hi,
John?
good evening. So as Chief Delane said, I've been working on a program, been working on it for just about over a year now. It concluded of about a year of data collection, which was our 2023 period. I started kind of halfway through that, so it took me a little bit of catching up. We were able to catch up and we submitted our report last week. That report basically is going to tell us how much our cost is to actually run a call versus what we're charging for a call versus what we're getting reimbursed. Medicare and Medicaid, we have to accept the rate that they give us. We cannot charge anything additional to the patient above what Medicare and Medicaid reimburses. Knowing that the state is applying for federal assistance for Medicaid to increase funding up to the billed amount, which can be up to how much it costs for us to run a call. It still is in the federal system going through that process. It's been going through that process for as long as I've been promoted, which is just over a year. I have sat in on several, probably a dozen or so meetings with the state and the committee that's looking into this. It's very promising. I do think it will eventually go through. There are, don't quote me, I believe 18 other states that have already gotten this program approved, and it will significantly increase our funding for our Medicaid patients, which is approximately 7 to 12% of our calls. Comes out to about 150-ish calls per year. And for reference, right now we get roughly $300 from a Medicaid patient, and our actual expense is roughly $3,000 to run an ambulance call. So in theory, if we changed our billed amount to our cost, which would be, I believe it's 2719 is the exact number. If we changed our cost to that, we could recoup that additional cost from the state through the federal program. That program will also be retroactive to January 1st of this year. So I suspect that we'll see quite an influx, an increase of our billing from those patients.
I'll give others the chance to question first. Any questions for Battalion Chief Holmes, please? Trustee Pieper?
Do you have a breakdown for the 2,917, was it?
I do. It's approximately 60 pages long. It took me about 5 months with Chief Delane and Aaron's assistants, as well as Administrator Krecklow. I greatly appreciate their help because I would not have gotten it done without them. Briefly, it includes the salaries, wages, costs of insurance for the facilities, pretty much everything. They dove extremely deep into every single one of our costs. Including breaking out costs from Administrator Krecklow's salary and all the other administration and support staff billing, everything like that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So I want to make sure I understand you correctly, please. So in healthcare, we get a certain percent from Medicare and then a far lesser percent from Medicaid, and that does
Correct.
not fluctuate.
Correct.
Certainly doesn't cover the cost for those patients. So is what you're talking about, they will cover the costs
They will cover up to what we bill, which is a discussion that we'll probably have in a more formal PowerPoint, and I'll be up here for a lot more than 10 seconds, unfortunately for you all, but we can essentially bill up to what our actual cost is, and that's what that program was for the past about 18 months that I've been reporting on it. That's what that program gave us. So hypothetically, if we did bill that $2,719 amount, $2,719 amount, we could recoup that additional cost should everything as it is presented to the Federal Center for Medicare Services get approved as it is.
CMS, yeah. And so Medicare or Medicaid, it is the same reimbursement rate for us. It would be the cost of the actual run itself.
It is only for Medicaid. It is not for Medicare at this time.
Okay.
And that's about 7 to 12% of our calls. If it included Medicare, we'd be significantly higher in the percentages. I would estimate probably 40-ish%.
Okay. Thank you, and nice work.
Thank you.
Moving on to item 5C, please, overtime reports. Chief Snow, please.
I compared our overtime to 2023, and it's significantly improved since then. And we are hoping to have more of our officers off training by the summer, which is going to help significantly. So we're hoping those numbers are going to dramatically improve by the end of the summer, but they are tracking far better than they did last year.
And for those financial people in the audience, could you define what the word significant is, please? Because they will probably ask.
I did not bring the 2023 report, but I believe the number I had remembered was about 30,000 from improvements from last year.
Great.
Same time last year, May of last year.
Thank you. Thank you, Chief Snow. Chief Delane, same thing for you, please. Overtime reports?
May's overtime was about the same as April. However, it is down significantly from the beginning of the year.
Would you care to define significant for us?
About 350 hours less than it was at the beginning of the year.
That's a beautiful thing. Thank you. Due to new hires and leaves coming back, or what do you attribute that to, please?
That's a combination of things. It is due to some new hires. We did have somebody come back that was on light duty, and we did rearrange some of those schedules to increase more people on during the daytime to alleviate having to bring in extra people on mandates.
Thank you. Thank you, Chief Delane. Lastly, for item 5, policy updates, Chief Snow
And nothing from the police.
and Chief Delane, anything for the fire department this month?
Nothing from fire.
Thank you. We have no unfinished business items for tonight, so we'll move on to item 7. Item 7A is application for a fireworks permit for the Germantown Park and Rec Department for the 4th of July in Fireman's Park for July 4th.
Motion to approve new business item A.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion passes. 7B, application for appointment of successor agent, EKM Moose 1238W198N10217, Appleton Avenue. Agent for consideration is William F. Numrich.
Motion to approve new business item B.
Second.
Chief Snow, any concerns?
None.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion passes. New business, item C, application for appointment of successor agent for Pick and Save number 357N112W16200 Mequon Road. Agent for consideration is John R. Quinn.
Motion to approve new business item C.
Second.
Chief Snow, please.
No objections.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 All those opposed? Motion passes. 7D, application for appointment of successor agent, Post One Inc., the American Legion, N120W1593-2, Freistadt Road. Agent for consideration is Christy Bonnell.
Motion to approve new business item D.
Second.
Chief Snow, please.
No objections.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes. 7E, application for appointment of successor agent, Walgreens, 5427 N156 N1126-1, Pilgrim Road. Agent for consideration is Alyssa M. Reicher.
Motion to approve new business item E.
Second.
Chief Snow, please.
No objections.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes. 7F, application for a temporary Class B retailer's license for the 50th anniversary event for the Germantown Historical Society on July 13th, 2024 at Deansville Historic Park.
Motion to approve new business item F.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Committee. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 All those opposed? Motion passes. 7G, producer full service retail sales application, Component Brewing for Hops and Hounds event on July 12th, 2024 at the Homestead Hollow County Park.
Motion to approve new business item G.
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
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 All those opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Moving on to 7H, it is the application for renewal of retail alcohol beverage licenses.
For next year?
Yeah, starting July 1st of this year, running through June 30th of 2025. I'm going to turn the meeting over. I think so.
Hello. So I just wanted to give some new information. We are currently, as Trustee Hudson spoke about, in our renewal licensing period. So in the state of Wisconsin, retail alcohol beveraging licensing is good effective July 1st of current year and goes through until June the 30th next year. So the application renewal period is in full swing right now because we want to have every one of our businesses have their new license to place on their wall so all their patrons can see it by July the 1st. So again, it's July 1st of current year to June 30th of next year. So what most of you might recall seeing on our renewal list would be Old Germantown, in addition to the Apple, what is that one called? Appleworks Winery. So you have a list that we created for you. We did not feel it necessary to scan 450 pages. It was just absolutely redundant. What the state of Wisconsin has done for this licensing year is they have created across the state of Wisconsin new applications. And the new applications, as one of our owners is currently in the room here, can state that they are redundant. In addition to not putting the burden on you all to have that many pages to go through with a lot of redaction that would have to take place, we are streamlining the process, providing to you a list of who the applicants are, what type of license that they hold, and of course, if there were be any recommendations of denial by our police chief, we would obviously advise of that. There are some new laws that have come out with Wisconsin Act 73. And Wisconsin Act 73, as it relates to those two businesses we spoke about as Old Germantown and the Appleworks, those two entities are no longer required to file with the local municipality, us here at the Village of Germantown. They are not required to apply for a winery permit with us. And Old Germantown, being a brewery, is not required to apply with the brewery permit with us. So the Wisconsin, the Act number 73 authorizes that eligible producers, manufacturers, rectifiers, wineries, and breweries to make full-service retail sales at their production premise and up to 3 off-site retails locations. And with that being said, those 2 entities will not be on the list for renewal because they have to apply for the state. Now, what I also want to bring to your attention is when they apply, the Old Germantown, when they apply for their brewery permit, they are also going to be required to apply through the state for the extended premise. The Department of Revenue will decide whether or not they are going to allow extended premises use of that brewery permit. And of course, they will then reach out to us and make sure here at the local municipal level that our boards would approve the same considerations of that extended permit. But again, that extended premises is no longer applied for through us, nor is the winery permit, nor is the brewery permit. And that is related to Act number 73 that went in effect in 2023. So this is the first time with the renewal process for 24-25 that you're not going to see that on your list, okay?
So I have questions about that. Does anybody have questions before?
Let you start.
So does that free up 2 liquor licenses for the Village of Germantown then, or does that count against our 2 that we have?
So alcohol beverage licensings are classified. So the ones that you're referring to for liquor are referred to as a Class B,
Okay.
which is actually a long Class B. There's a Class B for beer, a longer Class B version, which we call Combo Class B, which is beer and liquor. This is neither of those. So there are no new licenses available. We're just not given a winery permit and we're not given a brewery permit, which are not have, those don't have limits on them. The only thing that has a limit on it is liquor.
Okay.
So this doesn't free up additional licenses.
And so does this cost our village any money?
This does, well, the cost that it would have been for the renewal for the brewery would have been the $100, in addition to the one for our winery, again, that's $100. So there's $200 in fees that are no longer being given to the Village of Germantown.
And the state gets that money now.
They do apply through the state. Now, if their fee may be set differently from what our fees are.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
And
Trustee Bohm, please.
I am clear on this. Those 2 premises did not have any sort of liquor license. They had a brewery permit.
that is correct.
Okay, thank you.
Yes. Old Germantown had wine and beer. So Old Germantown, and they have their brewery, and they also had wine. Wine is not a limit. There's not a quota. The monies that we would have gotten from the applicant to be able to complete the background investigation fee, the publication fee, the fee for staff and for meetings to be able to approve it, again, is at the $100. The application as it relates not to Old Germantown, but to the Apple Works Winery, they are a winery. And again, nothing to our quota, and that fee would have been the $100. The only thing that has limits in the state of Wisconsin is liquor. Beer is unlimited. Our winery and brewery permits are no longer going through local municipalities, right? So the only cap, the only quota that we have is related to liquor.
And clarifying question, if I may, please. You mentioned that the state would be deciding about the extension, the outdoor extension. And so are you referencing that the state has not decided how to interpret the law yet? Or does the state take it on a case-by-case basis?
They're going to do it on a case-by-case. So what we have come to learn with this Wisconsin Act 73, again, I mean, this is only implemented because we're all across the state of Wisconsin in this renewal period together. So this is all new. We personally, my staff and I reached out to our representative with the Department of Revenue, the person that covers Washington County. Her name is Agent Erin Dorn. specifically asking this question because not all municipalities have what you call an extended of premise. And what the extension of premise is basically allowing your patron or your guest to be able to go outside of those four doors onto your deck, onto your patio, on some additional green space. Once the pandemic hit and COVID hit, people like to be outdoors eating. We kind of separated ourselves, and it's a big thing for people to eat and drink outside. So the premise extension is just to allow for the consumption of spirits, alcohol, and or beers or wine outside of the four doors of the bar. Now, we are just getting specific. Does that mean it's an 18 by 30-foot deck? Does that mean it's on the upper level patio? So we're very specific so that we can put that on the liquor license. Because what the Department of Revenue tells me as the clerk, when I walk into that business, I want to see that that license is hung and framed in a conspicuous space when I walk in. I want to know who the agent is because that's who I want to speak to. I want to know your alcohol, your beer, and your wine are being consumed, served, sold, and stored. And I want to know where your receipts are kept. So in the addition to that, where is the extended premise? So we are specific on the license in addition to that we say it is in the rear of the building, south side, 20 by 30-foot deck. So now what they're saying is because they have to apply for that brewery or winery license with the state, we are no longer involved. They will decide what the extension of premise will be for that premise address, and then they will advise us, make sure that we're on board with it as well.
Steve Ballmer.
For the Appleworks Winery, we have established requirements, limitations for their outdoor usage.
Mhm.
Is that being conveyed to the state and the state going to adhere to that? Or is the state going to come in and say, yep, we're deciding what we want to do?
So that was communicated with them, Trustee Baum. Thank you. That's a great question, and one that I posed directly. And what we are advised is that the state is pretty much going to take precedence over local municipalities as it relates to their extension. However, I think as a courtesy, they're going to reach out to us and say, this person has applied. For example, let me back up a little bit. We know that the Old Germantown exists. We know that they have a brewery. We know that the Appleworks has a winery. If another business were to come in, they're required to do their due diligence. They should be starting with our community development and planning, right? To first make sure it's zoned appropriately, to make sure that this is a business use, right, for that district, to go through the proper signage and all of that, then that communication should be conveyed to us that so-and-so came in, they're going to want to make this a restaurant or bar, and then at that point, they should be sent to my department, at which point we should be communicating with the state to say, did they apply for the wine license or brewery? And then go from there. As it relates to existing ones, I have advised them that we have current conditions, not necessarily a CUP, but we have conditions, and are you going to be adhering to those? And it was conveyed that as a courtesy, we will be communicating with the local municipality as to what that premise extension will look like, and then go from there. So I think it's going to be on a case by case. And currently in Germantown, we have two of these cases, right? We have the two just spoken about.
Yeah, so first of all, thank you and great job explaining. And then I hope the last question is, so the local municipalities really formally will have no say in this process other than in advisory capacity?
I don't want, I'm hesitant to say that we will have none. I mean, it's so new with this Act 73 that I feel like obviously the state's going to trump us, but I don't, in the conversation, I feel like they're going to take us into consideration as to if we have something that is.
Yeah, but there will be no formal vote anymore.
There will be no application before you for a brewery permit. And that's why I wanted to come before you tonight and let you know about this new Wisconsin Act 73, so that when those of you that have been serving obviously in this capacity for quite some time may notice, where is Old Germantown? Why are they not on here? And why is our, Appleworks not on here? It's because now they are required to apply through the state.
I have one question regarding this too. We also have Foxtown Brewery in Germantown. And they don't have people or patrons that come in. It's just a brewery. But if they decided now that they wanted to have patrons come in and have an outside premise, they could do that without asking?
Well, with the Foxtown Brewery, they should be getting their permit already from the state because they don't have anybody coming into said establishment. And as far as if they wanted to do an extension of premise, is what you're referring to, then again, because that's a brewery, they would have to go through the state. And the state, according to my understanding, and again, this is new, and we've only had one conversation about how this is going to work. And to be quite honest with you, I'm not even sure that they know quite how it's going to work yet either. That was a little bit of my takeaway. I think I was asked some hard questions, and I just don't think that they've got the process figured out quite yet. But from it's in writing, the conversation, and they are clearly conveying to us here at the Village of Germantown that the state, will determine what the extension of premise is going to be, that they will be required, the applicant will be required to apply for that with the state, no longer here with our local applications. And then there should be some system and communication at that point that they're saying to us what that is. And then I should be able to bring it to my board, hopefully.
Thank you. Trustee Pieper, you had your hand first. Sorry, but that's how it goes. You got to be.
This should be a fairly easy question, but say Old Germantown wanted a Class C instead of a Class A or B. They wanted to serve spirits. What would they do then?
So a Class C wine license used to be only where restaurants could qualify with 50% more sales in the food. So because they are a restaurant, they could qualify and apply for wine, but any additional licenses that they seek as a winery or a brewery is no longer at the local municipality level. They apply for it through the state, and the owner of, I believe his name is Scott, with Old Germantown was communicated this, we were very communicative with them regarding the sale of wine, and he knows exactly what to do. And we have provided to Scott from our department those applications.
So if he wanted to start serving liquor, would he go to the state or here?
Everything is through the state.
Because he's a brewer.
If you hold a brewery permit or a winery permit, you no longer apply for any additional licenses at the local municipality level. That includes extended premises.
For clarification, so if Appleworks Winery wants to start serving hard liquor,
Through the
they
state.
would, and we have no say in if
They,
it's.
correct. They apply through the state. Yes. So, and that's one of the things with the Act 73 resulting in, that's all taken away at the local municipality level. So I think the easiest way to remember it is if you have a brewery permit or if you have a winery permit, that any additional licenses for beer, cider, or liquor would be then applied for through the Department of Revenue.
So what if every bar in Germantown applied to be a brewery?
What's it?
Then, and they don't currently hold a liquor permit.
The
and they
liquor
wanna sell
license.
liquor, so they could just become a brewery and then go to the state and
The
get.
liquor licenses are still under quota, right? So they could apply, but
But
we,
they wouldn't get it because
we, the Village of Germantown, have every single municipality across the state of Wisconsin has that quota that you're very familiar with, Trustee Pieper. That quota is set, right? So people aren't going to just be able to come in and say, I'm going to brew, and then I'm going to get a combination Class B to be able to sell liquor and beer along with it, because every municipality across the state of Wisconsin has a quota.
okay.
Thank you. Trustee Baum, you had another question.
So following up on Foxtown, Foxtown is not in a retail area. They're in a manufacturing area. They don't have the ability to have sales of their product, do they? Are they allowed to just sell through the door?
Chief.
As of right now, they do not. They have been talking about doing brewery tours in their facility.
And then sell retail.
And they are also in the process of starting up distilling as well across the street in a different facility.
So that,
And-
so then they can go and start selling in a place that's not geared towards retail, not geared towards a retail establishment.
And I think that this new Act 73 will kind of answer that. So the Wisconsin Act 73 authorizes eligible producers, manufacturers, rectifiers, wineries, and breweries to make full-service retail sales at their production premises and up to 3 sites off, or up to 3 off-site retail outlets. So they could have 3 off-site retail outlets, and so all of this went into effect May 1st of 2020. Yeah.
I don't, so again, thank you. I think you've done a phenomenal job.
Well, I mean, my main concern when my department and I were looking at this, I mean, obviously the 3 of us are new here, and the list that would have been brought before you and this year, you're going to notice, because everyone except for Trustee Cutts, was seeing this list for quite many years. And being very familiar with the businesses here in Germantown, you're going to probably wonder, where are those 2 at? Why are they not on the list? Now, to Chief Delane's comment with this one particularly, it's because we do not license them. They do not come through us for anything. They go straight through the Department of Revenue, through the state for theirs. So that's why you don't see theirs on the list here. And I just wanted to verse you guys and give you some explanation as to these new laws. And if you had any question about quotas, I think it's very important to understand the liquor licensing rules and laws as it relates to quota.
Thank you. I think the village attorney wants to say a few words.
Yeah, just very briefly, a couple additional pieces of information that may help resolve concerns, issues, whatever. Number one, remember that if you're a brewery, distillery, winery, you have to qualify for that based on levels of production, those types of things in order to even get the permit in the first place. So it's not like just any bar could say, well, I'm a brewery now. The second piece, and we're working through this actively in another community with somebody, is that just because the state says you can sell full service at your premises doesn't necessarily mean that under the federal rules you can sell at your premises. For example, with distilleries, they have very specific bonded premises and non-bonded premises, and what you can do in each and all of those kinds of things, such that we're working through some issues with them of whether they'd even be able to be allowed to sell on their premises under the federal rules, notwithstanding the fact that the state says that they can. The third piece of information that I just wanted to share is that as it relates to the full service retail outlets that are above and beyond just the production facility. So depending on how much you brew, you can trigger up to 3 additional full service retail locations anywhere within the state. One of those can be movable, which we anticipate was designed to basically allow for the breweries that currently kind of skirt the rules a little bit to do the beer gardens in various locations, that's how they're going to do that, is they're going to identify one as their movable license, and then they'll be able to do that. The statutes now do authorize municipalities to regulate the location of those facilities. So if we wanted to say we're not going to allow it in a residential district, for example, that is something that we could look at from a zoning perspective, to look at saying we're only going to allow these types of things in this location and not that location. Now, that doesn't apply to the primary production facility. You just get full service there anyway. But obviously we have restrictions as to where that type of manufacturing can go within the village as well. So we have some ability to regulate, but it is far more limited than what we currently do.
All right, so
And just to piggyback right on that a little bit, the one that you voted on a little bit earlier for the Hops and Hounds event that's occurring on July the 12th, that was one of the moving ones. So this again is the first of its application with the Department of Revenue, brand new application. It's allowing those breweries on wheels to come into our parks for music at the pavilion and different events like that.
thank you. Trustee Pieper, please.
Make a motion to approve new business item H with the noted contingencies.
Second.
Is there anybody from the public that wants to comment on any of the alcohol beverage renewal applications for indoors?
Indoors,
Indoors.
not on the outdoor yet.
Okay. So those businesses are, do I need to read every single one of these?
Yeah.
Sounds good. Thank you.
So-
I appreciate that.
So I don't need to, do I need to modify my motion and say for the attached list? Say, Jack? I modify my motion to include the attached list in the agenda packet with the noted contingencies.
We have a motion and a second. Chiefs, any concerns?
None from police.
Nothing from fire.
Committee, any discussion, please? Seeing that there's no discussion, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes.
And could I please just ask, just for the sake of next year when we're going through this process again, are you guys okay with having the list, the list submitted to you in the form it was today, not with 458 pages per se? It does go through our, police chief for the background investigation. He signs off on it. Was it presented to you today okay that you would like to receive it in the same fashion next year?
It's fine with me.
Yes, it was great.
Okay, thank you. Sorry? You keep saying that. Okay, thank you.
Put something else.
No, I'm gonna get fired before you.
Okay, moving on to. Thank you. 7I, which is the 2024-2025 applications for renewal of annual outside premise extension licenses. Trustee Bohm, please.
Before we get started, were we coming up with a new application for the outdoor premises? Because I've had questions the past several weeks as to, do we define what outdoors is? Do we define that 20 by 30 deck? Do we define how many people are going to be there? Do we define parking stalls? Do we define toilet rooms? Is all that stuff on the new application?
So that is a great question. Whenever I got here in the village of Germantown, I too, like you, had all of those questions. And yes, I concur, it needs to be revised. We have not yet revised that. And I have not had the opportunity as of this time to sit down with our village attorney to make those revisions to date. So there needs to be a separate application also for temporary. If we are doing a temporary event for extended premise, a perfect example of that would be the Mexican restaurant for Cinco de Mayo event, where they want a temporarily one-day event from 5 to 9, erect a 30 by 40 tent. So the application that we have included in your packet has not been revised, but that is something we're working diligently on to do next year and taking all of your concerns and comments into consideration.
I have a problem with moving forward with this discussion when I don't have criteria for outdoor premises.
So all of the renewals that are coming before you, not a single one changed from what was previously approved and what they currently have on their license displayed in their business to date.
And there are problems out there.
Okay, for my understanding pursuant to our section 12.09 of our code for licensing, the initial application for an extended premise, again, that extended premise, we're all understanding the definition of that is, to consume the drinks outside of the four walls. Everyone that initially applies pursuant to our Village of Germantown code, the initial application must be submitted 300 feet, noticed 300 feet to residents surrounding the property as to what they're asking for. For every single application before us today, these are all renewal with no changes to their existing extended premise. It's exactly as they had it for the 23-24 licensing period. Nothing new has presented itself. If we were to have an application that asks for a different or an expanded upon their deck, or we want to extend the patio, then we would go through the whole new process. But what you have before you today is the renewal as it is currently approved.
Trustee Pieper, please.
I'll make a motion to approve new business item I.
We have a
Second for discussion, at least, Baum.
I'll second for discussion.
Thank you. First, do we have any comments from the public about any of these, please? Yes, sir.
And then after, I'd like to ask Chief Snow if that's okay. Couple questions.
State your name, your address. Please hand in your yellow slip.
My name is Jason Jaguar. My address is W202 N10462 Appleton Avenue. I'm asking for things to be taken into consideration in regard to the Doss Barrel Room before his licensing gets reapproved, based on the same things we've been asking about for several years now. With the level of outside noise, the amount of cars that are out there, his CUP with the amount of deck he has out there, there's far more people all in and around there than just isolated for that. The fact that there's no level of noise put on the outside, and he can have that band as loud as he wants it to play as often as he wants, it doesn't seem fair to us as the residents that live there. There's being far more consideration put in to accommodate him and his lack of respect for the board as far as the ordinance and the permits and what goes on. And we've been asking for the same thing for years, and I understand there's ordinances and modification and stuff, but it still hasn't happened. The fact that you can hear the noise up to a mile away has to fall into the nuisance order. I don't see how we're being unreasonable that the fact you can hear it so far away, that nothing's been addressed with it yet. That's very unfair as far as our neighborhood is. There's still an abundance of cars around there. He still has not done anything to the gravel area that he put in. Now there's a chain across it. There's 30, 40 cars parked across at the gas station, all over the grass and the lawn. That's also not allowed. Called a dispatcher, and they told me that as long as the owner says it's okay to park on the lawn, it's okay. So there's some gray area. Either my understanding or based on what the officers understand the ordinance to be. If he's going to have the outside music, and I know it's not an isolated area, there's other bars that have the same thing with bands outside. So it's kind of a hybrid with his zoning and all of that. Why can't there be a number put on how many outside bands are allowed in any given month? And if there's more that he wants to have, that he can't apply for a permit. And give us the opportunity to have some peace and quiet. Not that we got to hear it 3 days a week for almost 6 months out of the year. The fact that he can play it as often as he wants, as loud as he wants till 10 o'clock at night, it just doesn't seem like fair to us. He should have to be some kind of neighborly, some consideration for us as neighbors. I just feel like it's just getting put by the wayside. I would ask that his license would be reviewed and held up until he's compliant with these other things that he has not made right yet. The fact that he's had that gravel there for a year and has not paved it yet, made money the whole time on it without any fines being issued. I think that sets a precedent for everybody else who's got a problem that says, well, you give him a year, now I need a year. It seems there's way more consideration being given to him than for us as residents. So thought that was my time.
No, it's,
Okay. And I know I've been vocal about it. I'm not the only resident that's got a problem with it. We got residents behind us that choose not to come forward. That does not mean it's not a problem. It's been said that he put the gravel out there so people wouldn't get mud on their shoes and he wouldn't have to cross Appleton Avenue. But when he's out there directing cars across the street to park at the gas station, watching them come across, does he not care about it then? It's about the money part. Let's just be frank about it. He's not doing anything extra unless anybody makes him do it. So the kindness of his heart thing, I just don't see it going on. Just want the level of noise to be down, so I don't hear it in my house all those days a week. We've had our trustees come out and check it out, and they agree with us as well. Just looking for some relief from what's going on here. Not that I got to hear it. It's been years now, and still nothing's been done. I don't want to say it like that. Things have been done, but we still don't have a problem with the level of noise. So I would appreciate if you guys would take all that into consideration before approving his licensing coming up. Thank you for your time.
thank you for your,
Excuse me. I also have pictures of the amount of parking that's being used up by him and by the gas station. And if he has that many people come in there, this probably is the wrong venue for him for at least 6 months out of the year. So I made a copy, the pictures. I don't know if I give them to you or how would I do it?
Sure, you can, yep. Thank you. Thank you for your comments tonight. Anybody, any other comments this evening, please? State your name and your address into the microphone, please.
Melanie Smythe, N140W17938 Cedar Lane. I have brought this up previously. I think this is a policy issue, and I think it's a combination of public safety and the Plan Commission getting together and figuring out if this is something like what you do for kennels, where you circulate letters to neighbors on a yearly basis for anyone who has 4 or more animals. And you ask if there's an issue, and you could call it a band fancier license or whatever. Or you could work out something where it's also tied to the land in a CUP. Now, it seems like both of these committees have never got together to discuss this, and I think it's a policy gap that is lacking in this village, and I would encourage you guys to do that, to sit down and figure out which part is on the planning side, which part is on the safety side, and come up with something so that it's dealt with for these poor people. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments this evening. Lastly, any other public comments about the annual outside premise extension applications, please? Did you hand in a yellow slip? Oh,
And handed it in for me.
thank you. Appreciate it.
Jessica Jaguar, N202W, I don't know, W202 N10462 Appleton Avenue. And I'm actually reading an email that you all received today. Is that allowed?
Yes.
Okay. A neighbor of ours could not be here today and just wanted to make sure that his thoughts got expressed. Fact. The original CUP was issued for a DBR to operate a bar and grill business. The business has grown and has now provided outdoor music for the last 3 years, 3 nights per week when weather permits, typically April through October. The music is extremely loud and many complaints have been filed. The music can be heard a mile away. Instead of addressing this CUP, the village apparently felt more appropriate to be part of liquor license process, yet in 2023, it was not addressed. Commentary. Why isn't outdoor music provision of a CUP for any business in the village? Would this be addressed in liquor license renewal now being considered? Fact. DBR installed a stage made from large gooseneck trailer 2 years ago. The stage has been expanded and has become a permanent structure on the property. Permanent electric service was installed to the stage last summer with no permit. Commentary. Why isn't this approval process in place for music stage at any business in the village when it is used on a regular, continuous basis? Fact. The number of customers on site at DBR has grown substantially in the past 2 to 3 years, so much so that sanitary facilities in the building apparently no longer adequate in the summer months when outdoor music is present. To accommodate the increase in customers, a portable toilet was placed by the owner near the front entrance during the summer months in 2023 and now again in 2024. Commentary. Why is a business allowed to operate when it does not have adequate permanent sanitary facilities to serve its customers? To be clear, the number of customers which cause the exceedance of capacity of the sanitary facilities is regular occurrence during these months when the live music is present. In closing, I strongly encourage the village board to take the following actions. Postpone the vote on DBR liquor license until the outdoor music issues are resolved. Issue a notice to DBR that the outdoor music stage is not allowed until perimeters are set for its use. Again, I ask that this be part of the CUP rather than a part of the liquor license. Number 3, issue a cease and desist order to DBR disallowing the use of a portable toilet for its customers. Number 4, order the building inspector to evaluate the capacity of the existing sanitary facilities of the building of DBR leases. If the sanitary facilities are found to be inadequate for customers served at DBR, an order should be issued at the property owner to permanently upgrade the facilities, including on-site septic system if necessary. Number 5, evaluate and determine if the music stage at DBR meets present building codes. Number 6, determine if the outdoor music stage at DBR fits an appropriate use of the property at DBR leases.
I have to ask you to wrap it up at this point in
Oh,
time.
I have one more. Is that okay? Or no? Okay. Number 7, evaluate the sound level of the outdoor music at DBR coming from its outdoor music deck and from its outdoor music stage and determine if it meets limitations and the attentions of the village public nuisance order.
So thank you. Could you give us a name and an address of the author, please?
It is for Tom and Lynn Steinbeck. They are at W204N10609 Hilltop Drive.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Say it again. Steinbeck.
Trustee Pieper, please.
I just thought it would be wise to note the email that we all got from Jeff Retzloff earlier today about Das Barrel Room and the code violations, how they've all been, there's one still outstanding that is going before the planning commission, but he anticipates it to be resolved after next week. All other violations have been rectified.
Yeah, I read his email. I assume in a very short while we'll be discussing that email. Thank you. Trustee Miller. I didn't know you wanted to. Please come forward. We'd love to hear your voice. You're speaking as citizen Miller, I assume?
I am speaking as trustee Miller, Jan Miller.
And then I'd ask that you do that at the village board meeting.
Okay, I'll be a citizen, Jan Miller, W151 and 10297 Winsong Circle West. I have been following this liquor licensing and the Das Barrel Room for a while, and I have observed other premise that are held into an account for the noise when their establishment is put together. In other words, I do remember that both the Appleworks and the Bierstube have specific wording about the amount, how long their band is supposed to play. And the neighbors, if they ever hear anything, they're supposed to make complaints. And with that, they could be held accountable and be shut down, essentially, probably. But hopefully there aren't any complaints. And they want to be good neighbors. But I have driven by Das Barrel Room, and it's dangerous driving that area. They're parking on side streets. People are parking in the grass areas, and it's pretty dangerous. So I just wanted to come before this board, the Public Works, and really have you review this outside licensing, because I think it's entirely, it's become bigger than life. The bands are bigger. The amount of people are bigger. Having a porta potty right outside is not desirable in my book. And this also came before the village board. I pulled this from when was this outside premise? Oh, this was the case of the Bierstube, and they had to go ahead and meet all this criteria. So I think this is something that needs to be added to a license when you're adding music. And I was going to encourage you also to look at some of the issues that we have not related to the Bierstube, but Kinderberg Park. And I hope you get that on the next public safety meeting. That is all.
Thank you. I appreciate your comments this evening. Trustee Peeper.
I'd like to change my motion if my second would allow and actually push new business item A to the village board since it's already on the agenda for the village board anyway. Or is it item I? Yeah, and it's item I on the village board as well.
Consent.
It's not under consent.
I think it's, at this time, I'd like to
As
ask
long as
our,
that's okay. with me.
ask our council to come on forward.
I agree with the amendment.
As I think all of you know, the code obviously contemplates that every item comes through a committee and has a recommendation of some sort. That said, it has long been my position that the code allows for the body to otherwise act differently than what the code says by motion to suspend the rules. And so that would be acceptable. The trick is, of course, is that that's really a motion that the board would need to make when they go to consider the item. And you don't know whether or not they're going to grant that or not. And so you certainly could push it through and just have the discussion at board. But if it doesn't get approved, then you're in a kind of a weird spot. Probably means we're going to end up
So
having.
if it doesn't get approved for us to push it to the board, then it would stay here and we'd have to figure it out, correct?
Correct. Probably
Got it.
would require a special meeting of this body
Sure.
to deal.
But
with
if it does
licensing
get
issues.
approved to push to the village board, we're fine. Gotcha.
Chief Snow, do you want to, or Chief Delane, either one? Gentlemen, would you like to weigh in on outdoor alcohol consumption, please?
In this case, it becomes problematic if they have a licensed premise and they are allowed to play music outside. And we often get calls out there that are within the typical noise ordinance. And it becomes very subjective to say that the band's too loud because you're going to hear a band outside. Our officers are trying to use their discretion and make a determination if the music's too loud, understanding that you're going to hear music outside.
Thank you, Chief Snow. Chief Delane, anything?
My concern is with the number of vehicles that we are seeing in the pictures that were presented is if they are actually over occupancy load for that building. I don't know what the occupancy load is for that building or that premise. I don't know if I don't recall if it's even posted in there or not. It should be. But that would definitely be problematic in the case of emergency and the building would have to get evacuated.
Thank you, Chief Delane. So, council, I want to make sure you get good use of the sport coat and the tie this evening. To paraphrase your sage advice, it sounds to me like you are saying push this to the village board so we all get to talk about this in 27 minutes.
I think my sage advice is that I think you're going to have a discussion here and then you're going to have the exact same discussion in an hour,
Okay.
roughly.
Thank you. We have a. Sure. Please be a little more prompt next time.
Or you could also comment at the village board meeting as
Or you
well
can comment
during,
at the village board meeting.
Should be quick. My worry is that if it goes to the village board meeting and doesn't get approved, the deadline passes. So is there a way to
Yes.
vote on them
It's going
independently?
to the village board meeting either way.
Well, there's some comment about if they don't approve it, that it may require a special meeting and something else.
no. He meant that if the motion that I just made to send it to the village board, if that motion fails,
Right.
then it's an issue. So if we all
That's
don't
after-
agree to send it
Right.
to the village board,
Yes.
that would be an issue.
Thank you. And yes, it's the meeting that starts at 7 PM.
Okay, if there's at the meeting at 7 PM, can you vote on them independently or are they all
We
grouped
can
together?
break them however we want.
That's
Yes.
my main concern. Okay, thank you.
I'll make a motion to call the question.
Second?
All the
Make a
questions.
motion to
Take a
call
vote.
the question.
All those in favor, please say aye.
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 All those opposed, Motion passes. Thank you, committee.
So that just moves it to the next meeting, so we don't have.
No,
to
no,
vote.
no, you made a motion to call the question. You did that, so there was a current motion on the table.
Now
So
we
now
get
we
to-
have to
now we
vote
get
on
to
that
vote on the
current
motion.
motion to send it to the village board.
Will we restate the motion, please?
She changed the motion to push the item I to the village board, not under consent.
Correct.
Beautiful. That's what we're going to vote on now.
Yes,
Does everybody understand that?
yes. No discussion allowed.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Aye.
Motion passes, one dissenting vote. That'll get us to 7J, I believe, application for renewal of junk dealer establishment for waste management,
Motion to approve new business item J.
W132N10487 Grant Drive. Trustee Peeper,
Second.
Motion to approve new business item J.
we have a motion and a second. Any discussion on item J, please? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion passes. 7K, application for renewal of secondhand article dealer license Eco ATM LLC W190N 9855 Appleton Avenue within Walmart, actually.
Motion to approve new business item K.
Second.
A motion has been made and seconded. Any discussion on this? Chief Snow, any issues, please?
No issues.
Thank you. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Motion passes. 7L, purchase of portable radios for the police department. Chief Snow, this must be your item.
Yes, we had been here previously and had been approved for purchase of 4 portables, 2 mobiles through a grant from the county in the amount of $37,800. Prior to those being purchased, the price of portable radios did go up. That's going to increase that an additional $5,200 to $43,000. In addition to that, we are also requesting an additional 4 portables and 1 mobile in preparation for the new hires next year and to try to get those prices locked in. Now, that grant is also through Washington County. Both of those have been approved by their public safety for the total amount requested. So again, the one is for $34,900. The one that was previously approved goes up to $43,000, an additional $5,200.
Committee, please.
Make a motion to approve new business item L.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. Any discussion? Trustee Peeper, please.
Pretty quickly, I've said it before and I'll say it again, Chief Snow. It's admirable, it's amazing, and I thank you so much for it, finding all of these little grant dollars. I mean, I don't even know how you find them. It's awesome that you do it, that you save this village money all of the time on purchases like this. And I know I appreciate it, and I'm sure all of the residents appreciate it.
Thank you so much. And that is largely Lieutenant Dan McCulloch and Captain Pat Merton working on those grants.
Thank you to those two.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion on the item, please? Motion has been made and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes. 7M, Police Department Communication Officer Bonuses. Again, I'm going to assume this is Chief Snow.
That is correct. Trying to find it again. I just had it open.
On page 98. That helps.
Thank you. So I will just, in large part, read the summary that I just clicked out of again. It was decided in 2024 we would start a phased-in approach for transfer and dispatch service to the Washington County Sheriff's Office. Prior to this year, 8 communications officers provided 24-hour coverage, 7 days per week. Even with the staffing level, our communications officers are often burdened with extended shifts or being bumped to a different shift with very little notice. They are now working with 6 full-time dispatchers and have been and tasked with training dispatchers for Washington County. This has been necessary in order to maintain the original timeline, which is critical to our operations. We propose a bonus for our full-time dispatchers to recognize a substantial burden that has been placed on them. They have sacrificed a great deal and have been significantly impacted by the process. The bonus would be an additional $4 per hour retroactive back to March 1st of 2024. For those dispatchers that were training, we would propose $5 per hour for those hours they trained. We would have additional amounts for all 6 dispatchers to present to the General Government and Finance Committee at their June meeting. It is anticipated the amount will not exceed $20,000 for the initial bonus. We have discussed this with Washington County. They have agreed to these bonuses and have committed to providing the funds necessary to cover the cost of all bonuses. And I believe a letter from Arundel was submitted to indicate that they would cover the cost of those bonuses, that Washington County would cover those.
Thank you, Chief Snow. Motion, please. Trustee Peeper.
Make a motion to approve new business item M.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion passes. 7N, please, review and recommendation for public safety building needs assessment. This is not Trustee Peeper's
Nope,
item.
but
Chief Snow, Delane, any chief?
Yes, I could certainly get it started. A request for proposal for public safety building needs assessment was opened and the village received 4 proposals. Committee reviewed those proposals for a number of reasons, including the timeline and experience with the village of Germantown. The committee recommends the project be awarded to Grafe in the amount of $63,000. I did include basically the criteria we used to score those 4 and the 4 proposals that were included at the time. I don't believe Grafe was the highest, but they weren't the lowest.
Yeah, I think actually they were the highest.
Were they the highest?
Second highest, excuse me, I
Okay.
apologize.
But I can answer any questions. I have other members of the committee that could assist in answering those questions as
I
well.
think Trustee Peeper has a question.
Who were the other candidates?
Zimmerman, FGM Architects, and SEH.
Okay. And Chief Snow, you feel confident going with Grafe or?
Yeah, in large part, they had, their timeline was 2 months compared to some that were as much as 6 or 7, I believe. We do have the familiarity with the Grafe, and they've been very reputable, and as well as the other companies. But I think just some of those items that we looked at put Grafe a little bit ahead.
Okay. And then Chief Delane, you feel good with going with Grafe?
Absolutely. When we reviewed all the data, we felt that they met our needs the best. And I do have a good working relationship currently with Grafe and have seen what they've done in regards to our public works building.
In that case, I'll make a motion to approve new business item N.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion, please?
I do.
Trustee Cutts, please, I apologize.
One question on phase 3, once the project wrap-up presentation, it goes to Public Works. Why wouldn't it not come back to public safety, just for curiosity?
Our attorney's going to explain that to us.
Because he's got a suit and tie on today.
Because he's got a suit and tie on tonight.
My honest answer is I don't know. I'm not sure what the thought was when the RFP was proposed and drafted. Certainly, part of it is just the idea that so as part of construction, you're utilizing potentially utilities, that kind of stuff, and so there may be some need to mesh there, but I don't honestly know what the specific thought was there, so.
I think that's really the
Thank-
guts of it is we don't have the expertise to, well,
Thank you. We appreciate your honesty. Anybody else would like to come forward and surmise?
Well, I can provide a little background. I think I wrote that section and it was probably just our understanding of the process at the time. We later decided that it would come to this committee and then to village board for approval. So if you folks approve it tonight, it would go to the village board meeting in 2 weeks. And then we would have Grafe, PRA Moore, that team that we're recommending come in and make a presentation.
Thank you, Trust
I just had a couple more.
Cuts.
How long have we known about or been planning for a new public safety building? It's been quite a while.
There's been talk literally for years.
Yeah.
Okay.
20, 25 years.
Okay, so, and I don't know if this is a question for Mr. Krecklow. How much, if any, money have we put aside towards this project?
Administrator Krecklow, please.
The village doesn't maintain a reserve specifically for capital improvements. We do have an overall reserve for the general fund of, and I don't have the exact number, but over $8 million. What the village board did for the public works the public works building that's going up currently and would be an option for a public safety building as well, would be to look at the general fund reserves that we have above our guidelines, which is 15 to 25% of general fund revenues, and then allocate those towards the building. That would be an option, but there's not a specific restricted reserve for a public safety building.
Okay, and what other options are there then for financing when the time comes?
Typically, this is something that would be done with general obligation debt. So that would, I think, given some of the initial thoughts or kind of guesstimates of the price range for a building of this nature, there would be a need for a significant portion of it to be funded with general obligation debt.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Thank you. Trustee Pieper, any questions?
Just a request from our chair, if possible, moving forward monthly, if you could just kindly keep this on the agenda for any updates that might possibly be happening during this process.
If it passes, we will do that. Thank you. Trustee Baum, please.
So this, what we're approving now is only the assessment of needs.
That is my
It's
understanding.
not approving, we're building a building. It's not committing any numbers, just the assessment of needs.
Yes.
One other clarification is if we're talking about funding just this project has ARPA funding. So the funds for the assessment come out of ARPA.
Thank you. Appreciate that clarification. Committee, any other questions about this item, please? Motion has been made and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes. Lastly, new item, 7O, an ordinance to opt out of the extended closing hours for alcohol beverage license premises during the 2024 Republican National Convention.
Motion to approve new business item O.
Second for discussion.
We have a motion and a second. Where am I going to go? Trustee Baum, do you want to discuss? He doesn't.
Here
have
to
anything
ask
say.
questions if there were.
Has anybody asked for an extension?
No one is asking for an extension
Thank
at
you.
all.
Trustee Pieper, anything? Trustee Cuts?
Just asking for help or asking for trouble. That's all.
Sir? A motion has been made and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Motion passes. Lastly, the next meeting date will be Monday, July 1st at 6 p.m. I'd like to thank the committee and the public for their timely and quick comments this evening to get us done on time. Meeting's adjourned. Thank you. 6 PM.